recording. And really quickly, I'm going to share a sponsorship video to acknowledge all the sponsors that help make this possible. Thank you all for joining us. It's either probably really early or really late for you all, so thank you. Sorry, I had to sneeze. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Errol Balagan. He is with Central Luzon State University, and I will let him take it from here. He'll be your moderator for today.
Thanks, Chelsea. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on your time zone, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the GARD session on Transboundary and Emerging Diseases. I'm Dr. Errol J. Balagan, and as Chelsea mentioned, I'm from the Philippines, and within 1.5 hours, I will be your moderator. This session will talk about TADs, or the Transboundary Animal Diseases. As an overview, these are animal diseases that are considered to be of significant economic, trade, and food security for a number of countries. These are actually diseases that can easily spread from country to country. And the most famous examples are the African swine fever in pig and the avian influenza in poultry. Also, this session will give relevant information about the Philippines' newly established Center for Transboundary Animal Diseases, or CENTRAD, including its mandates and activities for potential future collaborations. So we hope that this session will give our participants an insight about TADs that can open an avenue for future research and collaboration. And to start with, let me briefly introduce our speaker. Our speaker is a Doctor of Veterinary Medicine graduate from Central Luzon State University. She finished her Master of Science in Veterinary Medicine, major in microbiology at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, under the Graduate Research Education Assistantship for Technology, or GRATE, of the DOST Picard. She is an associate professor teaching virology courses and a project leader of numerous research engagements in CLSU. She is the present department head of the Department of Veterinary Clinical Sciences. And without any further ado, let us all welcome Dr. Ronalie Rafael.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Errol, for the very generous introduction. Let me just share my screen. Okay, once again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. I'm Ronalie B. Rafael, and I'm glad to be here today. And thank you for inviting me, Dr. Budu, in this webinar. So as mentioned by Dr. Balagan, I will be presenting to you some updates on transboundary animal diseases. So after this lecture, you will be able to first define transboundary animal diseases. Second is identify the priority transboundary animal diseases and their possible points of entry. And lastly, describe the Philippine government initiatives for TADS prevention and control with ASF as our example. So what are these TADs? As also mentioned by Dr. Balagan earlier, transboundary animal diseases, or TADs, are highly contagious epidemic diseases that can spread extremely rapidly irrespective of national borders. And these transboundary animal diseases can impact the economy since they inhibit international trade, and also they increase the cost of livestock production all over the world. Also, it poses a threat to food security. And since some of these transboundary animal diseases are considered zoonotic, of course, they have public health importance. So how can TADs possibly enter a country? So this could enter through the following. First is through importation of live diseased animals. Second is through importation of contaminated animal products. Third is through food waste from international aircraft or ships. Fourth is importation of contaminated biological products. Next is entry of infected people. And lastly, through migrating animals and birds. So based on the classification of the Food and Animal Organization of the United Nations, as well as the World Organization for Animal Health, there are a total of 17 transboundary animal diseases, and this include foot and mouth disease, rinderpest, contagious bovine pleuropneumonia, bovine spongiform encephalopathy, Pestodipetes ruminans, African swine fever, Newcastle disease, and avian influenza. And also, based on the conference held in 2011 for the regional ECTAD, the priority transboundary animal diseases in Asia and the Pacific includes foot and mouth disease, Pestodipetes ruminans, African swine fever, rabies, and avian influenza. And based also on the 2021 to 2025 agenda of World Organization for Animal Health, foot and mouth disease, Pestodipetes ruminans, and African swine fever are considered of global importance. So let's discuss briefly these diseases one by one. So first, we have the foot and mouth disease. Foot and mouth disease, or FMD, is a severe, highly contagious viral disease of swine and other cloven hoof ruminants. So the causative agent is an RNA virus, which is termed as foot and mouth disease virus under the genus Aptovirus, subfamily Captovirinae, and family Picornaviridae. There are a total of 7 serotypes or strains, including serotype A, O, C, SAT1, SAT2, SAT3, or South Asian Territory 1, 2, 3, and Asia 1. So based on the latest data from the World Organization for Animal Health, FMD can be found in these countries, like, for example, the current outbreaks were reported in Zimbabwe, South Africa, Libya, Iraq, Turkey, and Israel. And as you can see on the map, the one with the dark pink are those with the cases greater than 100. And then as the color lightens, the number of cases, reported cases, is lesser and lesser. Like, for example, the one with the lightest pink are those with the cases less than 20. So also in this slide, you can see that the predominating serotype in this year, so since this these cases occurred in 2023, are the serotypes SAT2, SAT3, and the serotype O. So among the clinical signs of FMD includes vesicle formation, particularly in the mouth, the muzzle, the interdigital space, the coronary band, other teeth of cows, and the snout of the swine. In cattle, we can also see excessive salivation, just like the one that you can see on the lower right image. Okay. This one. And also in all the animals affected, lameness is considered as the first clinical sign. So the disease can be transmitted either through inhalation of droplets, ingestion of infected food or milk, through artificial insemination, contact with fomites, contact with domestic and migratory birds, through contact with ticks, house flies, and biting flies, which are considered as mechanical vectors of the disease. The next is Pestodipetes ruminans, or PPR. PPR is a highly contagious transboundary animal disease affecting small ruminants and cattle, and camel rather. So since this disease is quite related, or it belongs to the same genus as the rinderpest, and it has the same clinical signs and lesions with that of rinderpest, The disease is also termed as ovine rinderpest. The causative agent is also an RNA virus termed as small ruminant morbillivirus under the genus Morbillivirus, subfamily Orthoparamyxoviridae, family Paramyxoviridae. This disease is of high economic impact in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, especially those countries that rely on goats and sheep as their livelihood. So based on the WOA data, the disease, the only country with the positive case or positive outbreak of PPR in 2023 is Morocco. And then in 2022, this disease can be found in Algeria, Libya, Israel, and Mongolia. And then in 2021, the first reported outbreak of PPR is found in Thailand. So PPR is considered as a generalized condition, but the clinical signs and lesions can be mainly found in the respiratory as well as in the digestive tract. And these clinical signs can vary depending, of course, on the virulence of the virus or the strain of the virus, the immunity of the host, and also the environmental condition. So for clinical signs, this may include nasal discharge, serous that became mucopurulent due to secondary bacterial infection. Aside from this, animals can also exhibit necrotic stomatitis, particularly in the gum and the gum line. And then animals can also exhibit diarrhea as well as bronchopneumonia. So since I've mentioned that this disease is quite similar to rinderpest, lesions such as zebra stripe appearance, particularly found in the large intestine, is also seen in PPR, just like in rinderpest. Aside from this zebra stripe appearance, we can also see necrosis of the lip and the gum. The third one is African swine fever. So African swine fever is an infectious tick-borne disease of both domestic and wild pigs, regardless of breed and age. So this is caused by a DNA virus under the family Aspergillidae, genus Aspivirus, and the species is African swine fever virus. Among the 24 genotypes that this virus had, the genotype 2 is the one predominating in the Philippines and other parts of Southeast Asia. So far, ASF has no effective vaccine and no effective treatment available. And based on the latest reported data, the disease can be found in Italy, Latvia, Hungary, Moldova, Hong Kong, Russia, Poland, Germany, Ukraine, Bhutan, Nepal, Czech Republic, Romania, South Africa, and the Philippines. So in these countries, usually there's a recurrence of the disease, or there's an occurrence of a new strain. However, in Nepal, this has been reported as the first outbreak of ASF in this country. So what are the clinical signs of the disease? So this includes fever, cyanosis of the ear, and red blotchy skin. But aside from this, in some cases, we can also find bloody diarrhea. And the transmission routes are too many. And as you can see in the image on the right, it can be transmitted through contaminated water, contaminated feed. It can also be transmitted by mechanical vectors such as flies, leech, and predatory birds. It can be transmitted by soft ticks, although this cannot be it is not true here in the Philippines, since this tick vector is not present in the country, the Ornithodorus species. It can also be transmitted through contaminated vehicles, through fomites, contaminated fomites, the inanimate objects, through movement of personnel, infected wild pigs, infected domestic pigs, contaminated pork and pork products, contaminated semen, as well as contaminated water. So next disease is rabies. So rabies is a zoonotic, deadly, vaccine-preventable viral disease of mammals affecting the central nervous system. So this disease is caused by Lyssavirus rabies under the genus Lyssavirus, subfamily Alpha rhabdovirinae, family Rhabdoviridae. So this disease is distributed worldwide, but this has great impact, particularly in developing countries. So the mode of transmission is through bite of infected animal. The main transmitter of the disease are the dogs, the infected dogs. But in other countries, it could be other mammalian species, like for example, the skunk. It could also be the fox, okay, or the bats. So worldwide, this rabies can be found in 2023, particularly they can be found in the countries like Armenia, Kazakhstan, Hungary, Slovakia, and also here in the Philippines. So just a bit of information, we had a recent outbreak here in Central Luzon, particularly here in Science City of Muñoz, wherein we had one student who tested positive to rabies, and unfortunately, this student, a high school student, died because of this disease. So depending on the forms of rabies, we can also describe the different clinical signs of the disease. Basically, rabies has two forms, the furious and the dumb form. For the furious form, this is also known as the mad dog syndrome, although this type of or form of rabies can also be found in other mammalian species. So for the furious form, the clinical signs include irritability, alertness, dilation of the pupils, and loss of fear of people. Likewise, for the dumb form, this is also known as the paralytic form. The clinical signs include progressive paralysis, particularly of the throat, jaw, and the lip muscles. Aside from paralysis, we can also see profuse salivation due to the paralysis of the throat and the jaw. Okay, next disease is avian influenza. Avian influenza or avian flu is a highly contagious, potentially zoonotic viral disease of domestic and wild birds. So this disease is caused by an RNA virus termed as the alpha influenza virus influenzae under the genus alpha influenza virus under the family Orthomyxoviridae. So among the types of this virus, the one with the zoonotic potential are considered or termed as the highly pathogenic avian influenza, which belongs to the serotype H5 and H7 or subtype H5 and H7. Aside from birds, this can also affect other mammals, like in the 2023 report of the WOA, they reported cases of H5N1 in sea otter, fox, seal, lion, and sea lion. So, and also as you can see on the right graph, we can see here the number of losses due to avian influenza, particularly in domestic poultry. So the number of birds that were killed and at the same time die due to the disease within the outbreak is highest in Asia, followed by Europe, and lastly in the Americas. So in this data, the losses due to killing of the birds around the outbreak were not included. So far, for the 2023 outbreaks of avian influenza, the one that predominates, the serotype that predominates is H5N1. And this can be found in countries like Hungary, Poland, Denmark, Netherlands, Turkey, Germany, Austria, UK, Chile, Czech Republic, USA, Spain, Canada, Russia, Ecuador, India, Estonia, Taipei, and France. In Japan, however, the serotype that predominates in this country is H5N2 in 2023. For the highly pathogenic avian influenza, this disease causes a severe systemic disease with multiple organ failure. And the clinical signs of the disease include cyanosis and edema, particularly found on the head, comb, and the wattle, hemorrhagic skin on the feet and the shank, as well as necrosis of the comb and the wattle. So let us now proceed to the Philippine government initiatives for the control of these transboundary animal diseases, focusing mainly on African swine fever. So in this slide, you can see the different efforts of the Philippine government that aims to hopefully control the outbreak of ASF in the country. And this includes laboratory capacity building. So far, because of the support from US DITRA, there are 7 regional animal disease diagnostic laboratory that were equipped or their capacity were enhanced. So far, there are a total of 20 regional animal disease diagnostic laboratories, aside from the private laboratories that we had for ASF testing. So aside from enhancing our laboratory capacity, we also implemented this Babay ASF program. So by the way, the word Babay in English means goodbye. So for the Babay ASF program, this program is created as an effective monitoring, surveillance, and reporting of ASF in order to intensify the practice of biosecurity measures in the all hog farms and to assist in the recovery of the hog industry in the country. So another program that was implemented in the country is the INSPIRE program, or the Integrated National Swine Production Initiatives for Recovery and Expansion program. And this program has 4 components. So the first one is the calibrated repopulation. The second is establishment of multiplier farms. Third is insurance subsidy, and the fourth one is credit windows. Among the program beneficiaries are the backyard racers, particularly in the ASF affected barangays or areas, released from quarantine, the farmers cooperative and associations, semi-commercial as well as the commercial farms, the local government city. So together with the Babay ASF program, the INSPIRE program aims to accelerate the repopulation and recovery of the swine industry in the country. So aside from this 2 aforementioned program, the Bureau of Animal Industry here in the Philippines also maintain a website wherein they have this African swine fever portal containing the different administrative orders, the local ordinances, memorandum orders, some memorandum circulars, and also IEC materials, as well like video materials that are intended to inform the public about ASF. We also have ongoing clinical trials for vaccine for ASF. However, we don't have a positive result yet for these clinical trials. Aside from the clinical trials for ASF vaccine, there are also funds that were coming in that supports the research on ASF vaccine. So in summary, transboundary animal diseases or TADs poses economic as well as societal harm. In total, we have 17 transboundary animal diseases as recognized by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations and the World Organization for Animal Health. 3, including FMD, PPR, and ASF, are considered of global concern. Also, there's a continued recurrence and new emergence of transboundary animal diseases observed all around the globe. And in terms of control, we also notice, based on the Philippine experience, that public-private partnership, both local and international, are of importance for the prevention and control of these transboundary animal diseases. Okay, so here are the pertinent references that I use in this presentation. So if you have any question, you can ask after this lecture, but you can also contact us through the following contact details. So thank you so much. Personally, I would like to thank Dr. Errol Balagan because he is participatory to the completion of this lecture material. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Rafael, for that wonderful talk. I hope our participants have now an idea on some examples of TADs. And that was actually a very concise summary of all transboundary animal diseases known today. So now the floor is open for questions to our participants. If you have any questions, you may now open your mic so you can ask directly to our speaker. Any questions?
Yeah, I'd like to ask, thank you so much, Dr. Rafael, for a great presentation. And thank you for this wonderful slides. You mentioned last time about the coverage of the African swine fever virus. In your slide, I didn't see China. What is the situation in China?
All right, so China also has ongoing outbreak, but I also included, I just included all those that are reported in 2023. So that's why they were not in that slide. So it's only focused on the 2023 outbreak. But they have reported outbreaks of ASF as well.
So does that mean that in 2023, they don't have any outbreak?
No, it just means that they have no reported outbreaks based on the WOA data.
Oh, okay. But they have outbreaks like in 2022 or something like that.
Yeah, there is.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more question? Thank you, Dr. Alusila, for that question.
Hello.
Yes, Sir Benshak. Yeah.
Yes. I'd actually wanted to say something about figures from Nigeria too, but I guess she answered my question, saying that it's only the 2023 reports that she showed us. Because I was going to say some of the cases in Nigeria, I saw there were very few. I work in a research institute, so I know we have more cases than that, but well, this is for 2023, so maybe later on we'll see more. I would like to just ask if she could just say a bit more on control strategies, especially for ASF. It's a very big problem in my country. And if just some control strategies that you use over there just to get a handle on the disease in the Philippines, if she could just say a bit more on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Benshak. So actually, I mentioned a while ago some of the programs that we implemented here in the country to hopefully control ASF. So we have the Babay ASF program. This Babay ASF program is focused on surveillance, monitoring, and the capacity building of our facilities here in the laboratory facilities here in the country, but we also have the Inspire program, that one focus on the repopulation. So currently we have the Sentineling program, wherein the government provides sentinel pigs to the different farms that has no cases of ASF. So these are just some of the efforts that the country is putting money and effort into, so that we hopefully we will be able to control ASF. So aside from these two programs, we also have ongoing vaccine trials. But unfortunately, we don't have data yet on the efficacy of this vaccine. And we have a lot of funding that is coming in for the development of ASF vaccine also. So our government is very supportive in order to find the effective vaccine for ASF. So I hope that answered your question, Dr. Bensha.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you as well.
May I
Thank
ask
you.
another question? So in the surveillance and monitoring, what kinds of shall we say diagnostics? As you know, we are Global Alliance for Rapid Diagnostics. So you would be expecting that question, right? So what are the current methods of diagnosing it, and what are the weaknesses or strengths of those? Thank you.
All right. So in the Philippines, so we're following the recommendation of the Animal Disease and Diagnostic Research Laboratory. That's a national reference laboratory here in the country, and their confirmatory test for ASF is real-time PCR. Unfortunately, we all know that RT-PCR testing is very expensive. So I think that's the biggest disadvantage of this diagnostic test, as well as since it's expensive, because you need expensive equipment in order to do the testing, and also the reagents are very expensive as well. Did that answer your question, Dr. Alacila?
Yes. So is there a plan to develop some kind of less expensive diagnostics? Errol was here in the lab to train on developing a biosensor. So how does that, what would be the future of that in the Philippines?
All right.
On
So
biosensor.
prior to the engagement of Dr. Balagan in MSU, actually we had two. The one is I think that was 2 years ago. 2 years ago we had this ASF test kit. This is a lump-based test kit for ASF. So unfortunately, we are still waiting for the validation of this test kit. That test kit was developed by one of our faculty members here in CLSU, in the person of Dr. Clarissa Domingo. So aside from Dr. Domingo, we also have this ongoing research. So it's also from our one of the faculty members of the college, and she's Dr. Jemberlyn Garcia. So she actually had her doctorate degree in the US as well, and her research is on, I think that's a nano-based diagnostic test kit for ASF, but currently it's on the research phase only, and it haven't been validated yet. So it's not validated yet. And so it's only on the research phase right now. I hope that Dr. Balagan will be able to conceptualize a proposal real soon on an ASF, particularly a low cost ASF testing. Are you challenged, Dr. Balagan?
Yes, we will soon, ma'am. We will soon.
Yeah.
Well, you probably have to reduce his teaching load so he can concentrate on developing a proposal.
I will tell that to our dean, Dr. Medina.
Yeah, you have to recognize also that if you want to encourage your faculty to do research, they have to have a reduction in some other responsibilities so that they can focus on the
true.
research. So anyway, what is the opportunity of that? Or my question is, are you already committed to the other technologies that upcoming technologies may not be competitive as far as your interests are concerned? That's my question.
Can you repeat the question, please?
You have developed already an ASF detection kit, right? The lamp you said it's available. And then you have another faculty, like will another research, say you're encouraging Dr. Balagan, but what is the thought of the university? Are you like moving the other two that a new entry may not necessarily gain support or traction because the two are already advanced? Or so what is the interest of the university as far as exploring other opportunities here?
I think the university is very open to this test kit that you will be developing, Dr. Balagan. So so far, as I've mentioned, this two kits, the one that our faculty members developed. The first doesn't we are still waiting for the validation result, and the second one, it's still on the research phase. So there's a big opportunity for this diagnostic test kit that will be developed by Dr. Balagan the soonest. I believe so. The university is very open to this kind of undertaking.
Yes, ma'am. Can I just add something? I think the university is supportive on developing this test kit. The problem, I think, would be what will be the use of this test kit after the development, because BAI will not allow this to be used unless it is being validated, and the validation takes a lot of time. So I think it would be a problem because they will only honor results from the standard provided by the WOA, which is the RT-PCR.
Real-time PCR,
So, RT-PCR. So whenever we release a result based on the test kit that we will be producing, the BAI will say that it will not, it's not as reliable or as something unless it is validated. But the problem is validation will take a lot of time. And in our experience, based on what we had with our colleagues, BAI is not that as supportive in terms of this validation strategies. I think that's one of the problems that we might encounter in the future regarding test kits or introduction of new test kits for this kind of disease.
If I could say something here, sorry.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think what you said it's very correct. But in our settings, I think having those kind of test kits that you can use out in the field, which are inexpensive, which can be readily deployed, could serve its purpose. Validation, as you said, yes, might take a long period of time. It might not be accepted and all of that because the RT-PCR is the standard. But I still feel we can still, if we can, develop such rapid test kits which can be deployed to the field and at least screen the animals first before confirming using RT-PCR. And so we shouldn't give up on, trying to develop these rapid test kits because it will be very useful in our settings, I guess.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
Dr. Bensha.
Thank you
Yeah, I agree with
for the
you completely.
insight.
So I think of what Binshak was saying. Can I call you Binshak? Is that your name?
Yes, that's right, Bensha.
Right.
That's correct.
Benchak. So that's what Benchak was saying, that it may not be accepted as immediately as the standard because RT-PCR, but you can develop a rapid test that can be used in the field so that then it's a way of fast screening, because there's no way you can send all your samples with RT-PCR. That's just financially close to impossible, right? I mean, I have not seen anyone sending just regular samples, especially with an outbreak, using RT-PCR because it's so expensive. So we can learn from the COVID-19 outbreak, pandemic, where you can develop, we can develop like rapid tests at home. And then once you sort of triangulate, right? You're feeling sick and your home test says you are positive. So it doesn't mean that this is the final diagnosis. So you go to a clinic for the PCR or RT-PCR. So it's a way of like screening whether the situation needs then the final RT-PCR confirmation. I mean, you can develop some kind of an algorithm, right, on how to screen quickly, and then because RT-PCR is standard, then you go to the RT-PCR. So you sort of limit the number of samples being tested and minimize the cost. I mean, I'm not a vet, so I'm just suggesting something from the rapid test point of view. I'd like another question, if you don't mind. I don't mean to occupy or dominate the discussion here. You were talking about vaccine. We learned that there is a vaccine in Vietnam. How is that vaccine going, and will the Philippines be able to take advantage of that vaccine?
All right. Thank you for that question, Dr. Elisita. Actually, we had this commissioned research, but the funding is not yet downloaded to us. So this research is on the clinical trials for that Vietnam vaccine. So unfortunately, I think that they contacted us last year, but then as I mentioned, so we're still finalizing the protocol to be used for the clinical trials, and also we're waiting for the go signal from the Vietnam company to do the clinical trials. So it's the CENTRAD, the one that we will introduce to you later, who will handle the clinical trial or the clinical testing of this Vietnam vaccine.
So then there is also then the opportunity to develop a rapid test for vaccinated and unvaccinated swine, right?
The DIVA one, yeah.
The DIVA
Yeah.
biosensor. So that's another opportunity for developing the biosensor for DIVA.
Yes, that's true.
Thank you, Dr. Banji, for that question. We have a question here from Wova, Ma'am Rona. If you can answer if you have any idea on this. Are there any evidence of leishmaniasis transmission through other insect species other than sandflies?
I'm not a parasitologist in the first place. Yeah, so I'm not the best person to answer that. So, and by the way, leishmaniasis is not considered as a transboundary animal disease. Yeah. I saw that actually, but I think Dr. Venturina can answer that question later. But we know that she's sick So she's been hospitalized this afternoon, so that's why she's not with us today. So, but we'll ask her to answer those questions. So
Yes,
those
relay
three
the question.
questions are for
Mhm.
parasitology, right?
Mhm. We can relay those questions to Dr. Venturina and we can reply. Do you have any more question for this session? It's actually very engaging Q&A.
So what are the opportunities for collaboration? We have so many people here in this session. There's Benshak and many others. What are the opportunities for collaboration?
So maybe, ma'am, if
So
they have
later,
some, yeah, Dr. Rana.
later we'll be introducing to you the Center or the Center for Transboundary Animal Diseases. So this is a new facility here in Central Luzon State University, and currently we are looking for partners to conduct research and utilize that facility because it's a very expensive facility. So I think that's one avenue for collaboration or cooperation.
So later, Dr. Rafael will be introducing Centrad and she will be presenting the mandates and activities that Centrad is capable of. And if you have any interest, you may contact us so that we can make some arrangements and appointments for opportunities and collaborations.
So you can proceed, Errol.
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Rafael, you may now share your screen again for the central topic.
All right, so good morning, good afternoon, and good evening again to everyone. So I was tasked to present to you this topic, future proofing against the threats of transboundary animal diseases. This is supposed to be presented by Dr. Virginia Venturina, currently the director of the Center for Transboundary Animal Diseases here in Central Luzon State University. Unfortunately, as I mentioned a while ago, she's sick and was hospitalized this afternoon here in the Philippines. And so we know that the pandemic has brought a scare of a lifetime, resulting to increase in the number of cases day by day. And so far, there's a total of more than 30,000 new cases per day of COVID-19 worldwide, with a total of about 300 deaths per day. So aside from COVID, other disease outbreaks are also seen here in the Philippines and around the globe. And these diseases poses a threat to our economy. So I've discussed to you the definition of TADS a while ago, but as a review, these transboundary animal diseases are highly contagious or transmissible. And since they are highly transmissible, they can spread rapidly irrespective of national borders. And these TADs has serious socioeconomic consequences and even public health impact. So addressing these transboundary animal diseases also will address the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, including number 1, zero poverty, 2, zero hunger, 3, good health and well-being, number 8, decent work and economic growth, and number 12, responsible consumption and production. So we also know that animal pathogens can be bridged to the transmission of these transboundary animal diseases to humans. And for our information, 75% of these human diseases, human infectious diseases are transmitted by animal pathogens. So the question would be, are we ready for the next pandemic? So here in the Philippines, we've been combating a lot. We have cases of Newcastle disease, even influenza, as well as African swine fever. So for the Newcastle disease, so the first reported case was in 2015, and this disease resulted to high economic loss here in the country, contributory to which are the number of birds that were killed, as well as those that died of the disease. So far, a total of 40 provinces in the country had cases of Newcastle disease, and in these provinces, there's a total of 100 billion mortality. So for avian flu, so this is also a disease, a transboundary disease of economic importance here in the country. The first reported case was in 2017, but in this time, in April 2017, we don't know yet what is the cause of this reported unusual mortalities in poultry. So only by August 2017, we were able to confirm the cause of this unusual mortalities as H5N6. And then the outbreak was declared in September of 2017. So, and after this 2017 outbreak, we had another strain that hit the country in 2019, and this is H5N1. So this avian flu resulted to scare here in the Philippines, particularly here in the Philippines. So most of the Filipinos don't like to eat chicken meat, and one of the initiatives of the private, as well in collaboration with our university, is this Chicken-atics are safe activity, wherein we had a boodle fight. It's like we ate in a long table with roasted chicken and boiled eggs, so that we can enlighten the public that this chicken and the products from this chicken are safe and they can be eaten. So for ASF, the first reported case was in 2019, and after the outbreak in 2019, there has been a significant reduction in the volume of hog population in the country, and so far there's a gap of negative 41.8% from the outbreak in 2019, particularly on the first quarter of 2020. And while in the backyard farm, there's a reduction in the hog inventory by 13.3%. But through the effort of the Philippine government, as you can see on these maps, the left one shows the zoning status per city or municipality as of December 2022, and the right one shows a map showing the city or municipality with no reported ASF case for less than 90 days, 91 to 180 days, and greater than 181 days. And so far, because of the Babay ASF, the INSPIRE program, there has been a significant improvement in the cases in these cities and municipalities that were once positive to ASF. So I also mentioned this to you, the Babay ASF program and programs from the 579 affected cities or municipalities in 2019. Out of this 579, there are 484 cities and municipalities that were already negative to ASF at present. So in the past, Central Luzon, even now actually, Central Luzon is considered as the highest poultry producing region in the country, followed by Central Mindanao and Calabarzon. Prior to the ASF outbreak, Central Luzon is also considered as the highest pig producing region in the country. So because of this emergence and reemergence of these transboundary animal diseases, so one of our experts in the College of Veterinary Science and Medicine, a pathologist, conceptualized the establishment of a center, a central facility wherein a full of expert will work on to quickly act or respond in case of disease outbreak. And this is the late Dr. Esmeraldo M. Cabana. He is actually the mastermind of the establishment of this Center for Transboundary Animal Diseases. So the Center for Transboundary Animal Diseases, or CENTRAD, is actually a joint project of the Department of Agriculture, Bureau of Animal Industry, and Central Luzon State University College of Veterinary Science and Medicine. And this center was funded by the Department of Agriculture, and the total fund that were given to us is 200 million pesos. So 100 million pesos for the establishment of the facility, and another 100 million pesos for the equipment, for the purchase of the equipment for this facility. So this is how the Center for Transboundary Animal Disease building looks like. So this is located here in Central Luzon State University, in Science City of Muñoz, here in Central Luzon. Okay. So the inauguration of this center happened in June last year. So it's a very new facility. And the vision of this center is to become a lead agency for surveillance, risk analysis, investigation, disease investigation, diagnosis, mapping, and research on transboundary animal diseases. So the objective of this center is to become an avenue for focused animal disease diagnostic, monitoring, and surveillance, particularly of transboundary animal diseases in the country, to become a hub for risk analysis, so that there will be an organized development of the plans and strategies in the management of interventional veterinary assistance for these TADs. Also as a hub for multidisciplinary capacity building, particularly for animal health workers, and render expert consultancy services on all facets of animal health, particularly on One Health and biosecurity. Also, this center will perform relevant and competitive research programs that directly address TADs, conduct socioeconomic and value chain studies, improve advocacy, risk communication, and the needs of the poultry and livestock farming communities. So we also envision this facility to become an emergency storage for animal vaccines, supplies, and equipment for emergency animal disease management. And lastly, the objective of this center is to build a network of partners to expand human capital and put up a fellowship program for various research activities. So the center has a total of 10 laboratory rooms. So we have virology laboratory, microbiology laboratory, parasitology, molecular biology, necropsy room, tissue processing laboratory, sequencing laboratory, spectrophotometry, and electrophoresis, specialized microscopy and microscopy room. So aside from this specialized laboratory, we also have 9 service rooms. So it's the common room, like for example, the decontamination room, reagent room, UV room, e-library, laundry, lockdown room, war room, lounge area, and a canteen and pantry. So we also have 5 office and function rooms. And these are the services that our center will be offering in the soonest possible time. So we offer diagnostic services, gene sequencing, research, surveillance, as well as predictive model analysis. So as I mentioned a while ago, so because of the continued effort and the financial support from the government, we had this improved laboratory capacity for ASF diagnosis since the first outbreak in 2019. So, and one of the activities that we had when this center was established in last year, June last year, even though we don't have the building yet, so we conducted several activities like this ASF surveillance, wherein we conducted sample collection and testing using the test kit that was developed by one of our colleagues. And this surveillance was conducted particularly in the provinces of Aurora, Bataan, Bulacan, Nueva Ecija, and Zambales. We also conducted several capacity enhancement activities on ASF diagnosis and surveillance, both offline and online, face-to-face, and online trainings on ASF diagnosis. So in order to sustain the efforts of our facility and our college, we partnered with several academic institutions. So actually the total budget that was given by the Department of Agriculture was 240 million. The remaining 40 million was given to this the other state universities so that they can also capacitate their respective laboratories for ASF testing. During the conduct of our ASF surveillance, we also partner with several local government units in the country, and they facilitated the training of the animal health workers in the different local government units in the PVO, the provincial veterinary offices, municipal veterinary offices, as well as city veterinary offices. And they were also the ones that who collected the samples that we use for the ESF surveillance. So aside from our local partnership, we also had collaborations with different international agencies like the USDA, the PhilHUN, and the Livestock International. Currently, we have an ongoing project under the FADDL of the USDA, the Foreign Animal Disease and Diagnostic Laboratory of the USDA. And this was in partnership with Livestock International. And the project is on ASF, hog cholera, and JE surveillance. So that is the ongoing project that we have under the Center for Transboundary Animal Disease. So we also had collaborations with the International Atomic Energy Agency, as well as the Zodiac, or the Zoonotic Disease Integrated Action. So currently, Dr. Virginia Venturina is the Philippine representative to the Zonal National Laboratories of Zodiac. So these are among the activities that were attended or participated by Dr. Verina Venturina as the Philippine representative to this zodiac. Okay, so we also had a partnership, a MOA, a Memorandum of Agreement with the PNRI, or the Philippine Nuclear Research Institute, and we are brewing projects in collaboration with PNRI. So aside from the ones that I've mentioned, we also partnered with the FAO. So in the past, we also conducted commission research on, the first one is on unusual poultry mortalities. That was in 2016. And then in 2020, we also had a collaboration with FAO about, this was about CAP, or knowledge, attitude, and practices on antimicrobial resistance and antimicrobial use. We also had partnership with ECTAD, as well as the WOA, or the World Organization for Animal Health. So recently, we forged a memorandum of understanding with the Hokkaido University International Institute for Zoonosis Control. So the MOA signing was done early March of this year. So our way forward as a center, we are eyeing for, of course, since we had a lot of emergence and re-emergence of this transboundary animal diseases. We are actually, and because of the continued negative impacts of the pandemic, that continually impact the health and the livelihood of millions of people all around the globe, particularly in South Asia at present. So we are looking, we of course, it's very important that we interface, we interrelate, and we collaborate to researchers here in the Philippines, as well as in the forge partnership with our international partners, so that our efforts, the efforts of the center will materialize soon. So we are actually aiming in 10 years time to become an independent agency. So when we say independent, we'll be able to have our own funding, meaning our facility can get its own fund coming from the government, so that we can continue our mandate, and we can accomplish all our objectives, the objectives of the central. Okay, so that's all. I hope I was able to impart information about our new facility, the Center for Transboundary Animal Diseases. If you have any question, you can contact Dr. Verina Venturina through this email and this cell phone number. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you again, Dr. Rafael, for that very concise presentation about Centrad. And now that you had introduced Centrad, I hope some of our participants who are interested in transboundary animal diseases will have now an idea that there is an existing facility in the Philippines that is specializing in Centrad. Although this is a new center, and it's still looking for partners and collaborators. So I hope. And if you have any question, we can ask Dr. Ronali Rafael and Dr. Venturina as well. So any questions?
Thank you so much. I have a question. Thank you so much for a great presentation about Sintrad. So you're saying you're looking for partners. So what with the Global Alliance, with MSU, you're familiar now with Errol, how can we partner? I mean, yeah, so I think it's a very generic question, but I'd like to hear your points.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vanji, for the question. Honestly, the facility is a new one, so we're still, and the facility is a work in progress because we're still moving all our equipment from the college, our college, going to the center because we waited a long time for the building to be finished, and it's only this I think that only February that the building was finally transferred to us. So it's completed in February. So currently we're still doing a lot of moving of the equipment yet. So and since we don't have budget coming from the government yet, from the Department of Agriculture, so the facility is only working because we have a project with the FADDL of USDA. So, I mean, there's a room for a lot of collaborations, and that's the reason why we're telling you that that we badly need collaborators right now because so far it's only working because of the research fund coming from the FADDL. So it doesn't have any fund yet coming from the government.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Vanji, for that question. Anyone from the group who have any more question regarding Centrad or any interest in transboundary animal diseases?
Well, I feel from the previous presentation and this one, Nigeria has a lot of diseases, especially TADs in common with the Philippines. So I guess definitely for me, from my institution, I will definitely reach out and see how we can collaborate between Nigeria and the Philippines. Yeah, so this was a very good presentation.
Well, that's great. Benchak, that's great.
We have now a potential partner in Nigeria. This is a nice avenue to know who is interested about TADs.
Yeah. So Benshak, if we can develop like a Centrad, Philippine, Nigeria, MSU, let us know. We'll be glad to hop in.
Okay.
We are on rapid
Thank you,
diagnostics.
Dr. Vanji.
Any more question?
Now, what are the, well, you are doing this, this is just in the area of potential collaboration or potential work. What are the areas that you think like, okay, you don't have the facilities yet because of the funding, but are there things you can, like say here, work together that say, okay, let's work on this one so that we strengthen or it contributes to our direction. It contributes to our goal. Do you have that idea of, not necessarily, okay, because we don't have the money. The reason being, I'm saying that because I have a different view of research. My view is that if you have good ideas, money will follow rather than money and then you have the research. It's more of like, give me the ideas, and if it is compelling, I think there will be other people who would say, I will give you my money, because it's compelling. So what are the compelling problems or ideas or researchable areas such that you can go to funding agencies and say, this is really important and you have to give us your money? I mean, something like that. Because that's my view, like, give me a compelling problem and money will follow.
Mhm. All right. So far, if we're talking about what would be the priority research area that we can collaborate with, I think actually there's a lot of research that we try to submit to funding agency. Like for example, we had submitted a proposal about vaccine development for ASF. So that's one, because still we don't have any positive results yet regarding the clinical trials of the commercially available vaccine. And then another is the one that you mentioned about the ASF test kit, because there's no commercially available test kit here in the country for ASF that has been validated by the ADRRLS, or the adrenals of the body. So that, I think that one is a good research to work on. So the development of a diagnostic test kit, the DIVA one, because so far there has been, I think, 3 clinical trials that has been done, and they don't. I think this is a valuable one. The one to develop a DIVA diagnostic test kit for ASF, so that we can see whether these animals are vaccinated or not. All right. So if it's a natural infection or it's caused by the vaccine virus, because I think for viruses, it's a common problem. So we have reversion of virulence for the vaccine. So it's also one avenue for research. So especially for the live vaccine, the attenuated live vaccine.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that answer. Is there an existing DIVA test right now?
No, there's none that is validated by.
But is there in the pipeline?
Yeah, the one that I'm telling you, we're still waiting for the validation result, but they had difficulty getting that validation.
I mean, is that a DIVA? Is that a DIVA test kit then?
Yes.
So it will be able to differentiate between a vaccinated and a non-vaccinated swine?
Yeah, but not for ASF. Yeah, they're developing one for hog cholera.
Hog
But not for
cholera
ASF.
for DIVA,
Yeah.
a DIVA hog
Yeah.
cholera. So is there a DIVA for ASF?
No, not that I know of. So there's none so far.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Banji. Any more question? I think there's no more question.
Yeah, just one comment. I think for us that work in these research centers or research institutes, I think all the work we are trying to do, especially in low income settings like ours, is to develop ways and means in which these farmers feel our impact, because all these farmers know is their animals are dying. A farmer has 5 pigs or even just 3 pigs, and he's being affected by ASF. He just wants to save his livelihood. And I think we just have to think up of ideas that will have the most impact to these farmers, immediate impact, long-term impact, to save the livelihood of these farmers. When all the farmer owns is 5 pigs, and ASF is a threat, to his livelihood, I think all the research ideas that we think about, all the things that we're working towards, the goal for me is, how do we save these farmers' livelihoods? And I think all the ideas that we might think about, all the new interesting ideas that we might have, should be geared towards that, overarching goal of saving these farmers and saving their animals from all these diseases that are out there. And so as I said again, when we're talking about all these TAD and research ideas and what we can do, for me, it's okay, how do we impact the farmer? How do we get the farmer in a position where he can sustain his activities without fear of some of these TADs? Yeah, just thinking out loud.
Yeah, Ben Shak, I really appreciate that comment, because that is exactly, that should be our goal, right? Research is to help society, not necessarily to create new ideas just because of it. So that is the goal of the GARD, the Global Alliance for Rapid Diagnostics, that we work together, in fact, like thinking together and collaborating together to identify exactly what you're talking about. Like, how can we, at the end of the day, how can we help small farmers? So in our lab, we have different kinds of tests. So we have this, what we call a mapping test, that takes maybe like 10 cents and maybe 10 minutes. It's a screening. It's just a quick screening, and maybe some farmers may be sufficient for that kind of screening. So the idea is just to know, do you have infection or not? I mean, it will not answer, it will not say you have ASF or you have whatever diseases, but you can tell that the animal is like maybe near some kind of infection or something like that. And so the idea is basically evaluating whether there is a high microbial load in the animal. So it's a mapping test, 10 cents, 10 minutes. Basically, do you have a high load? So that then when the animal is showing a high load, higher than normal load, then you can go to the next step of, do you have a test? So we develop a biosensor that can detect within maybe 3 hours from the time you process your sample. So say you have a saliva and you extract the DNA, which is the largest, the most expensive part, but we can develop some kind of DNA extraction that is cheaper. There are now field-based DNA extraction. And then in 40 minutes, you get to know whether that saliva contains ASF virus or the ASF DNA or RNA or whatever virus you are talking about. So within probably 3 hours maximum, you can do this in the field. So that takes about $2 to $3. So those are like just tests that will really have potential impact on the farmer. These are what we call like rapid screening tests. And then when you go to the DNA, which is about $2, then you can say, yes, this animal has this virus. So there are things we can do like that, which we are doing in the field, in the lab. It's just like, And we have validated this matting in Nepal and Philippines. And I mean, it is not perfect, but it's good enough to tell you like, yeah, the animal has a high load. So that's one solution that we're proposing.
I think that's a very interesting, Dr. Vanji, the mapping test. This is the first time that I've heard such a test that can determine the load, whether bacterial or viral, like that.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
you can just see whether the animal has infection or not. It's a yes or no test, like that.
Yes, right. And it just tells you that there is a higher bacterial or viral load than normal, right? Because you can test a normal say swine, and you will say, okay, this is the profile of a normal swine. And so then as you monitor the animal, then you can see a spike. You can see like, oh, this is kind of like higher than normal. It will give you then an alert. And that can be used very quickly. As I said, 10 minutes, 10 cents. You can do that in the morning, you can do that in the evening, right? Because it's very fast.
That's very nice. I'm looking forward to see that here in the Philippines, commercially available. Yeah.
We are not promising any commercial availability because we are we're a research group. So this is an area of potential collaboration for research, right? Like, can we do this in the field for ASF? What is the profile, matting profile of an ASF? Something like that.
So it means we need to collaborate then.
Yeah. We really need to collaborate. I mean, for me, I am a type of person that collaborates. I don't claim to be able to solve the problems of the world by myself. So I need everybody's expertise, because the more you understand, for example, for me, I'm an engineer. My background is system science and electrical engineering. I'm in biosystems engineering. I look at the technology from the engineering point of view, but then in order for my technology or for the technology we're developing to be relevant, I need to understand ASF. Well, I am not an ASF person. I'm not a virologist. I need to partner with a virologist who would tell me exactly how this ASF operates, so that then I can develop the appropriate sampling mechanism, the appropriate, or what are the conserved genes and indicator genes, biomarker genes, something like that. Like in this ASF P72, based on my reading, P72 is a conserved gene, and so then we can target P72. But then if you want to develop a DIVA, we are developing an I77L. So because that is where the vaccine, or wherever the vaccine is being removed. So all these things we don't know until we talk to a virologist, an ASF expert, right? And then I need to talk to the vaccine people, like, how are you? What are the adjuvants? What is being removed? Which virulent genes is removed and which are replaced, so that then in developing the biosensor for DIVA, I would be able to differentiate that this is vaccinated and not vaccinated. I mean, I'm just giving you a small example where now I have identified so many people I need to talk to, right? So this is where collaboration is really, really important. I'm a person who, like, you want to solve the problems of the world, you need to collaborate. I need to collaborate. So did I answer your question, Venshak?
Yeah, I can see the field growing, the number of experts needed, growing and growing.
Yeah, it will grow. It will continue to grow. And then you need the farmers there, right? Because
Definitely.
You're developing a biosensor. Let's say, let's develop a biosensor. Let's develop the matting, which is very easy. Well, I need to make sure that the farmer is comfortable with that kind of system, right? I may be doing something like, here, you do this, and the farmer is like, no, it's culturally not relevant for us, or socially not acceptable. So you need the cultural side, the social side, right?
Yeah, and it differs wherever you go.
That's right. And then if you say, well, it's 10 cents, the farmer said, well, I don't have 10 cents. You need to bring this down to 5 cents.
Yeah, so we need that feedback from the end user, the farmer. We need the farmer's input too. In fact, right from the
Absolutely.
beginning, to understand what the needs are and whether it will be
Yes.
accepted, whether it's culturally okay with them.
That's right. If you say, well, you test this in the morning, the farmer said, no, I'm still sleeping in the morning, so don't let me wake up. I mean, I'm just making this up, but the idea is you need to include everybody into this development process, so that then when you come up with the technology, it's already relevant and acceptable. So you don't spend so much time and money pursuing something that is, at the end of the day, it's irrelevant and not acceptable, right? It will be sad if you spend 5 years only to find out that what you're looking for, what you're developing, is irrelevant to the user.
That's
I
right.
completely agree. Yeah. So we need to carefully think about the research that we're going to do.
Yeah, because the problem is, us researchers, we think we know. That's the problem, right? We think we know. But then we say, oh, I know what the farmers need. And then the question is, have you talked to the farmer? I'm like, most of the answer I get, no. I'm like, how did you know that this is what the farmers need when you have not even talked to the farmer? We just pretend like we know, when actually we don't know. We have not even talked to the user.
I had the research in mind as well, like if we can map the transmission of ASF, so that we will be able to know how this virus really entered the farm. So if we can do that, the mapping of the transmission of this virus, especially here in the Philippines, because we don't have that vector, the tick vector. So we're just suspecting that it could be swill feeding, due to swill feeding, or it could be due to movement of people, but we're not sure because didn't have any evidence to prove that that is really the source of the virus. So it's one research idea that I had in mind. So if we can do that, the mapping of this transmission of ASF.
Yeah, very true. That is a very valid question. And in fact, that is where we have a project right now with USDA funding, where we're trying to map where the source of the contamination, because from one point before, let's say, for example, in this case, it's a meat contamination of salmonella. So we went to we visited the slaughterhouse and we collected samples, and from the last point of the cleaning to the meat, everything, like you can see that the cleaning process was really good. But then from the cleaning process, when you go to the meat is contaminated. So the slaughterhouse facilities are like, we have been really baffled, like, where is this salmonella coming from, since we have cleaned the whole thing? And this is where rapid test comes into the picture, because then we can say, okay, I can collect here, collect there, inside the farm, right? I mean, inside the facility, and get the result, and then you get a picture. Now, is that what, say, BAE would accept? Maybe no, but at least inside, the farmer knows where the missing part, or where the shall we say, the weak link, right? Where's the weak link? Bai probably wouldn't care, but the farmer or the industry would want to know, right? So
Yes.
this is
True.
where rapid tests are important, not necessarily for declaring that it is an ASF, but understanding the transmission.
Thank you for that, Dr. Vanji.
This is actually a very fruitful talk because we have the idea of Ma'am Vanji, idea of Ma'am Rafael, and then ideas from Benchak. And we really need to talk to the farmer so that we know. I remember we had a talk, Ma'am Vanji, while I'm at MSU, that we really need to know the needs of the farmer, because what if we have this technology and the farmers would not want to use it? So it's not useful as what we predict to. So yeah. And I miss you saying no.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Do you have any other further question? Oh, I think there's no more question. Thank you, Dr. Rafael, for sharing your thoughts and your ideas regarding TADS and for introducing Centrad. Oh, I forgot to turn on my camera. Thank you also, Ma'am Vanji, for giving us the opportunity to share and to be part of this GARD 2023, and to Chelsea for making this possible. It was nice to see you again. And hopefully in the future we still have more presentations like this. And to all our participants, we would like to thank you for showing your interest and for asking some questions and sharing your thoughts regarding the topic.
So prepare for 2024 GARD Forum.
GARD Forum 2024.
Thank you, Chelsea. We miss you here in CLSU. Please come back.
Yeah, I still talk to people like Rizali and people like that. So it's really great to see you. I miss you all too. Thank you for coming.
Ginger
you
is
so much.
Also for
missing you.
inviting me.
Thank you so much.
Ginger.
And please extend our greetings to and well wishes to Dr. Vintorina.
Yeah, we'll do.
We
we'll
will,
do.
ma'am. We will.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
Have
you.
a
you
nice
very
day.
much.
Thank
Bye.
you. No,
Thank you.
Ronaldo, it's nice meeting you. And I hope we can
Nice
continue to
meeting
collaborate.
you. Yeah,
You
same
will see each
here,
other
Dr.
when
Vanji.
Vanji will visit the Philippines.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
when
am
was that?
expected. I'm
Mhm,
expected to be there in August.
mhm.
Wow. Finally, we will be able to meet you. So we